Yo, what's up, YouTube? What a great picture here. DJP back with another episode of Patriot Keys. This is the draft edition of Patriot Keys. Yes, guys. So the NFL draft has concluded yesterday, and really wasn't it was kind of an eventful draft for us when you look at the grand scheme of things for the all season. But in terms of drafting, we only drafted a total of 4 players, I believe. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we drafted a total of only 4 players. So I'm going to talk about our draft and basically those 4 players, so I can kind of talk about them in depth. But as you can see right here, first off, put a like on this video, subscribe, comment, all that great stuff. Let's go ahead. Let's get up. Let's keep the train going. So you guys know I'm going to have how we used our picks on the screen right now, if you guys check. And I'm also going to put a poll in the description below. Which draft pick are you most excited about? Out of the 4 draft picks we actually drafted. So round 1, our first round pick, we traded it for Brandon Cooks. The second round pick, we used it for Coney Ely. And the third round, we used that pick that we got from the Panthers in the Coney Ely trade. We picked up Derrick Rivers, defensive end, from Youngstown State, I believe. Yeah, from Youngstown State. And then we used our own for Antonio Garcia. He was a tackle from Troy. And then in the 4th round, we used it for Dwayne Allen in the trade. And then in our own first round pick, we used Derrick Weiss, defensive end from Arkansas. Then in the 5th round, we used it because Mike Gillislee was on a tender, so we had to give up our 5th round pick to Buffalo. Then our other 5th round pick, we traded for James O'Shaughnessy, basically a depth tight end from Kansas City. And then in the 6th round, we had Connor McDermott, tackle from UCLA. And then that's all we had. The 7th round, we used it. I think we put it in another trade. But so those are how we used our picks. Now let's talk about. I already talked about Brandon Cooks. I talked about the Coney Ely trade. I talked about the Dwayne Allen trade. I talked about Gillislee. I will put all of those in the description down below. All those videos, I'll put it down in the description below if I can remember it. But let's talk about the rookies. Derrick Rivers. Now, defensive end, I got to show you the depth chart right here as well. As I said in my last video going into the draft and stuff, we don't really have any depth on the defensive line. I wanted us to try to see if we could get Jordan Willis from Kansas State, but his stock rose and, he went to the 2nd round. So that, that's that. With Derrick Rivers, though, all these guys, if you notice, Derrick Rivers and Antonio Garcia are top 3 picks. These are sleepers, guys from a small town school, people who I never heard of. I actually looked at some film once they got drafted, and I kind of like what I see. He's a 3-4 outside linebacker, but he can also play defensive end. Talk about Derrick Rivers from Youngstown State. He was tied for 5th in college football for sacks, and he only played in 12 games in 2013. However, 2016 he did pretty well. I like how he rushes the passer. This guy, they kind of compared him to Trey Flowers, a guy who we already have, and we already know the damage that Trey Flowers can do. This guy has a high motor. His measurables is off the charts in my opinion. He ran a 4.6 40. 35-inch vert. His cone drill was 6.94. So this guy's athletic. He's pretty much a project in the making, also for depth. But I feel like coming along, he can he do his thing. So I actually like the Derrick Rivers pick. Looking some film. People say he played at Youngstown State, so he did play against top competition. But you already know Belichick loves getting guys from small schools, and as long as they can fit the system, fit the mold, then he'll be ready. So let's move on to the next 3rd round pick, Antonio Garcia, who at the combine ran a 5.15, had 31-inch bench press, all that stuff. So let's talk about him and what he does. Now, he is another athletic monster, another athletic beast. Again, went to a small school in Troy, so didn't really get much, shine. That's why he kind of fell to the 3rd round. People thought he was going to be in the 2nd round, but, he did play basketball in high school, so he does have that quick feet. He knows how to move. And, this guy is going to be a kind of guy to watch out for because Nate Solder's in the last year of his contract. So we'll see if he, with Marcus Cannon emerging. And it took Marcus Cannon a little bit of time because Vollmer was still there and Vollmer ended up getting hurt. And Cannon was just that piece that went from guard to tackle. And I feel like Garcia can do that. He can go from guard to tackle. I feel like he can, mix and match and play other different positions. So be on looking for Antonio Garcia in the next couple years, because I feel like if we sign Soder, it might be a short-term deal, or if we don't bring him back, we, kind of going with Garcia. So this guy, I'm looking at him as a project. I don't think he's going to contribute right away, but give it about a couple years, I feel like this guy can contribute. He ran the air raid offense at Troy, which, typically helps people with the pass protection. But again, I feel like with our system, if you come into the Patriots, as long as you have the athleticism, we can work on the mechanics. So that is that. And then let's talk about our other pick that we had in the draft, our 4th round pick, I should say. And then I'll talk about McDermott a little bit. Derrick Rivers, who, if you look at his athleticism, he compares to a former Patriot, Chandler Jones. Like, his stats kind of are similar to Chandler Jones, which is crazy. So, basically, if he turns out to be like Chandler Jones, then hey, we just traded him with Derrick Rivers. Derrick Rivers compares exactly to Myles Garrett. So we just basically got a watered down Myles Garrett if you want to look at it like that. But, with I'm talking about Derrick Rivers from Arkansas. He played in the SEC, which, people look at it as the NFL ready, protocol, but, sometimes it varies. He did pretty good in the, with his sacks and everything. I like his 4.3 edge. And again, this guy is mostly just for depth. Like, I'm not expecting too much from him. This was just a depth pick, a deft pick. And, I'm okay with that. Let's talk about James O'Shaughnessy, though. He's a 2-year vet tight end. He's going to compete for that 3rd tight end spot with Matt Langel and a couple other pieces. He was drafted in the 5th round in the 2015 draft, 173rd overall to be exact, by the Kansas City Chiefs. Last year, he only had, I think, 2 catches, and for his career, he only has 8 catches for 86 yards. So, again, this was just a depth pick as well. Instead of getting just a random tight end, which this was loaded with tight ends, but most of them was pretty much gone at this point, they say, hey, let's go ahead and get somebody who's been in the NFL. Let's see if he can fight for that 3rd tight end spot. He's a blocking tight end more so than a receiving tight end, which is a good thing because we have Gronkowski, who's good at everything, Dwayne Allen, who's kind of, in the middle. But if we need a guy who can block, because if one of them goes down, we have that in O'Shaughnessy. And Langel was an offensive lineman converted to a tight end, so, this all for blocking purposes. Maybe when we go big on our bunch formation, we have 3 tight ends, so we could be able to put Langel in the fullback or put O'Shaughnessy at the fullback. Because based on him, he's 6'4", 245, so he's average. So that's that. Connor McDermott, let's talk about him real quick. He used to play basketball again, in high school a little bit. I think he tried to do it in college, but he was a his brother is actually a long snapper for the Vikings, which is pretty interesting. This guy who is 6'8", 300 pounds. He ran a 5.18 40, 7.52 cone drill. So this again just maybe another depth pick. We like to develop these late picks. He has good mobility, he knows how to move his feet. So I can just see this guy just being a depth pick. So we'll see how that works out with that. I'm not really expecting much of him. So yeah, went quickly through this draft because it's pretty nothing really to talk about. Derrick Rivers, Antonio Garcia, the only 2 main people to talk about. So if you guys like this video, let me know. Like the video, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I will also have the videos I talked about for the Cooks and the Ely, how broken down. And quick note on that, I actually like how we did that. We used our picks instead of getting guys who might not be able to contribute right away. We used our picks to get guys who can contribute right away. And Brandon Cooks, Coney Ely, and Dwayne Allen. So I like that we used that pick. And Mike Gillislee. Can't forget about him. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comments below. Again, like, subscribe, comment, all that great stuff. Who you guys most excited for? Check the poll. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.